Hi everyone, I'm Karen from Sew and Save. We're here at my studio in the Ponderosa today to do month 5 of our Catapult Block of the Month. We are doing this in conjunction with our So What Club that meets in the store every third Monday of the month. And it's been a lot of fun to do these blocks, and the girls are doing a great job. And today we're going to talk about how to do month 5. We're going to do things a little bit differently this month in that, well, let me show you your block first. So you're going to make 3 sets, and I don't have my big board. My big board's at the store, so we're going to use 2 small boards today. You're going to make 3 different sets of Catapult blocks this month. You're going to make 2 sets of red so that you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 red Catapult blocks. Then you're going to make 2 sets of gold and brown, gold with the big triangle and brown as your square, and a set of brown with the gold where brown is your triangle and gold is your square. So we're going to make all of the cat's cradle blocks all at once, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. So we're going to do all the cat's cradle blocks at the same time. We're not going to make the red ones, and then we're going to come back and make the brown ones, and then we're going to come back and make the gold ones. We're going to make them all at one time. It'll go so much faster, and it's a lot of fun to do them that way. So all of those cat's cradle blocks we're going to do, but then we're going to add in 4 flying geese blocks. And this time we're going to use the Ultimate Flying Geese ruler. And this is my cat's cradle ruler. We're going to use the Ultimate Flying Geese ruler. And I'm going to show you exactly how to use this ruler to make 4 flying geese blocks at a time and trim them down so they are perfect, perfect, perfect. They are so much fun to do when you're doing 4 of them at a time. So the cutting instructions are a little bit different than what is written in your instruction sheet. I can't even pick it up. In your instruction sheet this month. So you in class and with your block this month, you have received an alternate cutting instruction guide so that you are cutting the flying geese fabric so that it will work with the Ultimate Flying Geese ruler. So the cutting instructions are a little bit different, so I retyped them out and we put a set in every block so that you knew exactly what cutting instructions you needed to do so that you could make your blocks with the Ultimate Flying Geese ruler. It's going to be so much fun. So let's go through what you need to cut for your blocks this month. So I'm going to kind of slide this over, kind of pick this up. So this is what you're going to need for your Catapult blocks, for your cat's cradle blocks. So you're going to make 1 set of gold rectangles with 2 gold squares. You're going to make 2 sets of the red. So you're going to need 2 large rectangles and 4 of the small red squares. So this month we're kind of making 1 cat's cradle block with both of the colors exactly the same. The other ones will be alternating colors. Then you're going to make a set with browns, and you'll have 1 large brown square and 2 of the small squares. Then you'll need 8 of your background rectangles. So those are all exactly the same as what is written in your instruction guide. But I rewrote all of the instructions so you can just follow 1 sheet to do all of your cutting. Once you've done that, then you're going to cut for your flying geese block. So for that, you're just going to need 1 large square, and this is going to be the blue that's in the center, and then 4 smaller squares, which will end up making the small rectangles on the outside, or triangles on the outside. So a little bit different this month. You're going to learn how to use a new ruler, which will be really super fun, and your block comes out really, really nice. But the first thing we're going to do this month is your Catapult blocks. So let's go over, get these all lined up so you can start stitching these and make all of your Catapult blocks all at the same time. This is our first step. As I indicated in our introduction, we're going to make all the cat's cradle blocks at the same time. You can do it. I know you're ready. So let's get started. As we talked about at the beginning, we're going to make 2 sets of red cat's cradle blocks, 1 set with the brown and 1 set with the gold. So the red, you need 2 sets because you're going to need 4 cat's cradle blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to do a brown set, and that's going to go in these 2 corners, and then a gold set, and they will end up in these 2 corners. So I've laid out my pieces, my squares with my little rectangles. I'm going to take and flip these over right sides together all the way along. Then I'm going to pick up my little board and take it right over to my sewing machine. Sew these at 1/4 inch and then press them away from the squares toward your background rectangles. When you get that done, come back and I will show you the next step in making all of these cat's cradle blocks. My pieces stitched and pressed. They're all pressed away from the square and toward the rectangle. Now I'm going to line up my rectangles together. Remember, you're going to put the squares on opposing corners. I have all 4 of my blocks stitched together. I did my little cut, pressed away from the squares on each and every one. So you can see they're all pressed nice and flat, all away from your corner squares. And now we're going to match them up with our large rectangles. And we're going, let's see. Okay, we have a red, actually the red and the red squares are going to go together, or rectangles I should say. So I'm going to lay these like this so that I can draw my lines. So a red goes with a red. I think this is the first time we made a red and a red block all together, the same colored block. And then with the gold, I'm going to put the brown. And with the brown, I'm going to put the gold. Now I'm ready to draw my lines. I'm going to grab my Racine pen here. Let's see, here's one. Okay. And use my cat's cradle ruler. Remember, you're going to place your seam line along the seam line of your square and draw your lines. All right, I'm going to do them like this. Do all of them facing me this direction first. It's a little bit hard because this board is a little soft, but it is working out just fine. Then this side and this one. Lining up that seam line with the seam line of your squares, drawing your line. And I'm just going to flip my board around, see how easy that is to do. Now I'm going to come back and do the other side. Lining up my lines with my squares. I'll go over to my sewing machine and draw stitch directly on the lines that I drew. Then I'll come back, show you how to trim that down and press. Alrighty, and one more. Sew this on the lines that you drew. Come back and we'll trim and press. I have all 4 of my blocks stitched on the lines that I drew, and now it's time to trim this all down and square it up to size. So I'm going to move this out of the way and we're going to work with just our blocks. Can't cut those on my little board, I'll ruin it. So let's grab our cat's cradle ruler. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch seam line on my ruler and just trim those down. It always has just a little bit extra in the middle to trim out. So we're going to trim that out. Then before we press these, we're going to trim them up to size. And I'll show you how to do that. Oop, come on. There we go. It's fun and easy to make all of these at the same time. So you're doing the same step on each and every one of these, all at the same time, and you don't have to think the next time you go to do the next block, how do I do it? Because everything is done the same on each and every block. One more to trim, and then we'll trim them all down to size. Alrighty. And get this one down. So when I do this, what I do is I lay my blocks all the same direction and lay them out so I can trim them all down at the same time and not have to do too much moving. Can you see all that in there? We're going to come up here a little bit higher. There you go. So you can kind of see them all in the frame of the camera. I'm then going to come along and double check, always double check your instructions. It's telling you to use the 3-inch finishing line on each and every one of these. So I'm going to line up my little 3-inch square on my block. So I line up the 3-inch square on my square, and the dotted line that runs along the bottom of that 3-inch square, right along the line that I stitched. And now I simply trim and trim. Oops. Lift up my ruler, lay it back down, lining up the 3-inch and the dotted line, dashed line along my seam line. On each and every one of these, I'm squaring them up, and then I will go and press them open. I will press my seam toward the dark side, so they're toward my dark triangle, and they will look beautiful, just like all your other ones. All the way along. So it's just easy once you get them all laid out, going in the same direction, all at the same time, to just pick your ruler up and lay it back down. Because your eye is kind of going to that 3-inch now, and you don't have to refigure out where you're lining this up each and every time. And there's no churning of the ruler. It's all nice and square. There we go. And then I have one more. I will go and press them, and then I'll come back and we will talk about how to make all 4 of those flying geese at once and make them perfect, perfect, perfect. Alrighty, I'm going to go and press, and we will see you back here in a minute. Now I have my blocks all pressed, and I'm going to kind of show you how they're going to lay in your actual block. When you're done, these are going to come together. This is going to be your center, so it kind of makes, it's going to end up making these are going to go up in your corner. Yep, these are going to go up in the corners. So I'm just going to kind of get those set up right now. Put this one in this corner, this guy in this corner, and this is going to come up over here. So you end up with kind of an hourglass block in the center with this kind of a square on each corner, and then these guys are going to be out here. Now for our 4 flying geese blocks, I'm going to set this aside. We're going to use our ultimate flying geese ruler right here, and that's our cradle ruler, and right here. So we're going to be using these 2 rulers to make this block. We are going to, there's several methods of making flying geese blocks using the ultimate flying geese method. My favorite is the heart method, which is right along here. So that's what we're going to do. You don't need your ruler right off the bat, but you will need the large square that they have you cut. And here you can see we're making a 3x6 finished block. So it tells you that you need a 7 3/4 inch, 1 7 3/4 inch piece of fabric, and that's going to be your center, the dark center, and then 4 4 4¼ inch squares, and that's going to be your white or your light wings on your flying geese. First thing you're going to do is take your square, and the instructions are all right here. You're going to take your squares and you're going to lay them in opposing corners of your large 7 3/4 inch square. You're going to take a ruler and your Frixion pen and draw a line diagonally through that corner, those corners, from this corner to this one. All right, you will sew 1/4 inch on either side of the line that you just drew. Do that and then come back and I'll show you what to do next. I now have my square sewn on either side of the line that I drew. I'm going to take and cut on the line that I drew diagonally through the whole block. And then I'm going to go over to the ironing board and I'm going to press these up. And so now you can see it kind of looks like a heart. So you're going to do 1 and then 2. Come back and I'll show you the next step. I have both of my hearts pressed with the seam going toward the 2 background pieces. Now I'm going to take my other 2 background squares and lay them in the opposite corner of my big blue square, just like this. Take my ruler and draw a line diagonally through each of those squares. One there and one here. Once again, I'm going to sew on both sides of that line that I just drew 1/4 inch away. I will then trim right on that line and then again press my seam toward my background. And when you do that, you can see how you are now making a flying geese. Look at that, you're almost done. Okay, go and make that stitch and those cuts and pressing. Come back and I'll show you how to square this up so it's perfect, perfect, perfect. See you soon. Wasn't that fast and easy? You've got 4 flying geese all done, a couple more cuts, and you're going to have 4 flying geese, 3.5 by 6.5 unfinished, 3 by 6 finished, and they're going to be perfect, perfect, perfect. So you can see I just press these. They're all going out toward the background, and now it's time to trim. We're going to use our ultimate flying geese ruler, and we're going to use this side. I'm going to pull this up so you can see. I'm going to use trim 1. You can see up here it says trim 1. Our square, or our rectangle, is going to be 3 by 6, so we're going to be looking at line F. We're going to cut this side first, then we're going to flip it, and we will look at line F again to make the final trim. So to do this, we're going to line up the teepee or the little mountain. This looks like a little teepee or mountain. F right along your seam line on your block. I'm going to separate these a little bit. And again, I've laid these out exactly the same way. Now I can just pick that up, line up the white line F with the seam line on my block, trim here and across here. Pick it up, lay F back down on the little seam line, on my little mountain, trim, and trim. Again, F with the little teepee or your little mountain, trim, and trim. Remember, we're following trim 1 because this is the first trim line we're going to do. Pretty easy. You can do this, right? I know you can. It's awesome. Trim and trim. All right. Now I'm going to take my block and I'm just going to turn it upside down so it looks like a V in front of me, or a valley. All right. Now we're going to use that other side that I just mentioned, which is this side over here. There we go. Look at this. We're going to follow with the F that runs along here, and we'll be trimming along here and here again. This says trim 2. So now you can see that this is upside down and it looks like a V or a valley. So we're going to follow F again, and you can see once you lay this down, F, there's also a white line that follows right along the side and the bottom that you've already trimmed of your block. And you can also see that all the way around where you're going to trim, or all the way around where that block is going to be, is that non-slip stuff that they put on the bottom of the ruler. So I'm going to line up my V here, my bottom here and here, and trim. Pick up my ruler. Look at how beautiful that is. Pick up my ruler, lay it right back down, following the lines of the F. My line's going across the bottom, and in that little V, trim, and trim, and 2 more times, and I have 4 perfectly perfect flying geese blocks. Aren't you impressed with yourself? You absolutely should be. Now I have my other blocks all laid out, so once I finished with these, I can put them in place and sew my block together. That was fast and easy, wasn't it? You're getting better and better at making the cat's cradle blocks, aren't you? They're going together a lot easier. Now we want to make sure we're laying our flying geese the way they're supposed to go. So they're going with the wide part up against the center. So I'm going to lay these out. So the first thing I'm going to do as I sew this is I'm going to sew my center together. So I'll sew these 2 pieces and these 2 pieces together. I'll press them towards one direction, and then I will come back and sew the tops and the bottoms together. So let me go do that. I'll show you how that works, and then we'll work on the rest. All right, so I've sewed my 2 center pieces together. I press my seams going toward my brown. Now I can just pick these up, lay them together. These 2 seams are going to nest nicely together. Everything's going to line up, and I'm going to stitch them at 1/4 of an inch. And then I will press them and come back, and we can sew the rest of the block together. All right, I have my center square all done. Now I'm going to sew my rows together. I'll sew the 2 cat's cradle blocks to my flying goose block, these flying geese to the center, and the 2 cat's cradle blocks to the other flying goose block. I'm going to sew those together. I will probably press the center out, the top and the bottom in toward. So as I go along, I'm going to press everything toward the flying geese blocks. So do that and come back. Now you have your center all sewn together, your top and your bottom strips all sewn together. Now you're ready to do your final sewing. So I've pressed my seam toward the flying geese on this row, toward the flying geese in the center, and toward the flying geese in the bottom. So now when I lay these on, they're going to nest really nice when I sew it all together. So I'm going to go do that, and your block will be finished. Yay! See you soon. Well, congratulations, ladies. You have finished month 5 of your catapult block of the month. Isn't your block awesome? I hope you had as much fun making this block as I did, and using that ultimate flying geese ruler sure did make those flying geese come together quickly and easily and perfectly. So join us next month when we make block 6 of our catapult block of the month, and I hope you can join us in the store every 3rd Monday of the month for our Sew What Club. So I'll be showing you how to do this in club and all kinds of other fun projects as well. So join us then, and see you soon. Bye.